Hey, everybody. This is Jeff Wellstead, the founder and CEO of Big Bear Partners, where my focus is primarily on people strategy and developing the entire people strategies, typically for fast growth technology and biotech companies, but with a particularly added focus on artificial intelligence and its application to sort of the HR development field. And that kind of extends even beyond human resource applications, because I think that HR is always ever going to have a role to play going forward in helping organizations adopt, use, and engage with artificial intelligence tools. I am, as my previous videos have mentioned, absolutely obsessed with the incredible pace of change and discovery that is taking place in the field of AI. It literally is happening, almost daily, certainly weekly. Whereas software developments in the past typically would take months and sometimes years. We're in a different field now, and in my kind of continuous search and in review of all the fascinating changes and things that are happening recently, I came across this very, very interesting character called and founder whose name is Jovan Milovanovic. I'm gonna mess this up again. Milovanovic. Thank you. Actually, Jovan Milovanovic, and he basically, I came across his tool, his online tool called AppCraft, which we're going to dive into today. And I was incredulous, to be perfectly honest. I was very, very skeptical that the claims and the capabilities that he was talking about on his website could actually be available to somebody like me, who is not by any stretch a software developer or an application, creator of any sort. And I kind of like stared at it and had a couple of plays with it. And I kind of thought, oh my gosh, I mean, it's asking me basically what I want to build, and will this happen? And so I wanted to I had a wonderful chat with Jovan over the course of the last several weeks about the application, about what it can do, and was really blown away. And now I'm super excited to share with you, his application builder, AI application builder. And so with that, I'm going to be quiet for a minute. And Jovan, can you do me a favor and just kind of introduce yourself?
Yep. Thank you for your introduction, Jeff. Yeah, my name is Jovan. I'm one of the co-founders of AppCraft.ai. What we are doing, like we saw like when AI started, opportunity to help our clients to create no-code AI tools and AI builders. We saw that a lot of people have they have some ideas that they want to use to create different tools. And because of that, we started working on AppCraft. The whole point of the AppCraft is that you don't need any knowledge, like coding knowledge, to create app. You can just register on our website. You can we have different models, like one model is War AI Builder. So you can write there, I would like to create as example, I am HR manager and I would like to create different HR apps. So if you write that, system will generate a few apps that you can later on use. Or also we have also capability, you can create your own tools. Like it's a little bit more complex, but it's easier than building a whole website and whole tool here. So, or what's our goal is to like decentralize that AI world, to help everyone who has who wants to create really good products, and to help them to use their ideas and make their own products.
Cool. Well, let me ask you a little question. I mean, I'm fascinated by the journeys that people in this space have gone on that ultimately kind of led you to where to create AppCraft in this particular case with your co-founders. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey, about your background? Like, what ultimately got you to this space?
Yeah, like my co-founders, Nicola, Luca, and I, we started working like because Nicola and I, we were co-founders of lead generation and SDR agency. So what we had as a problem, like we had always like a task to write cold messages, cold emails for that outreach on LinkedIn, and also sending cold emails. And that was always something like that is like hard to do, like time after time, like to create something that is creative, that is like really good, and that can help us improve response rate, and like to always get a good reply from potential clients.
Okay.
And because of that, we decided, like, what if we can try to create some copywriting tool. So first we started working on Ralph. We started working with my friend Luke. We played handball together as kids. So we started working with him on that tool, and we saw like that helped us for our business. But we saw like that already ChatGPT released their own GPT-4, GPT 3.5, and that changed everything. Like now everyone can use ChatGPT for that. And we saw that what's the problem for the clients. They needed, like, they wanted to create their own version of Ralph so they can sell to their clients. And talking with them, we realized, okay, there is a bigger need for some tool that can help them to create their own tools, not something that they can use to write copywriting messages. And that's the way how we started working on AppCraft. And then we realized that there is a real need. What's the main what's the main difference? Like, you can also do that with a custom GPT, but our main difference is that you can connect your own domain, put your own logo, colors, and also connect your Stripe account, so you can directly charge your customers using AppCraft.
Okay, fascinating. Very, very interesting. And it you make it sound so simple. Like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, we were doing leads one day and then we decided, oh, maybe this kind of, Chat GPT thing might take off. So let's just go ahead and kind of just build something from scratch that allows people to create their own apps. To be perfectly honest, again, I mentioned earlier, I was somewhat incredulous and skeptical that anything I put my fingers to on my keyboard in trying to kind of potentially build an app from nothing would end in tears and a complete and utter waste of my time. Um, and you basically kind of, it was interesting in terms of the path that you seem to take with AppCraft, which is, we recognize that most people are not software developers, but there is this huge advantage in this particular time frame with these large language models and all of the natural language programming capabilities available to us. We can actually whip something together, build something that people can actually experiment with, and actually basically tell our computers, go make this thing happen, and somehow or other, magically behind the scenes, using low code or no code capability, you take this prompt, my simple prompt, and you basically start to construct this application. Can you tell me about that process and how that works, and why it works? It seems magical.
yeah, like how it works, like on the AppCraft, like you will need to do what's your like advantages, your prompting knowledge, or also it doesn't need to be prompting knowledge. You can use your knowledge base and share that with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT can write like to ChatGPT how to use that knowledge. So ChatGPT can combine that your knowledge with his knowledge base, and in that way you can get a really good app and really good tools. So you can use that tools if you have for your own needs, like, and also for your client needs and your users. So that's the main advantage of ChatGPT is that you can use your own knowledge and also knowledge of the ChatGPT to create apps that can help your clients.
Interesting. So, I mean, actually, I'm just thinking about my own personal use case, right? So, I'm an independent contractor, consultant. I oftentimes go into businesses that are probably sub 100 employees, but have ambitions to grow very, very quickly, not just by numbers, but also by geographic location to, I don't know, 250 employees, possibly 500 employees in a very short space of time. And my challenge is then to consider not just the recruitment issues associated with that, or the potential international payroll issues and all the kind of mechanical things, but even the deeper dive elements in terms of, as we are hunting for people, what kind of people do we really need? What is the specific nature and or kind of capabilities of these individuals that are really going to make a difference? Once we actually get people identified, what is that process of determining if they're the right fit for the organization, which leads to all sorts of other questions around things like what is our culture? What kind of desired behaviors, do we want to kind of create here? What is sort of, the DNA, if you will, of the human aspect of our business? And so there's the mechanical side of all that kind of stuff, and then there's sort of the psychological side of all of that stuff. And then we have sort of just the operational challenges associated with now we have a much more sizable and complex organization. What do we need to do to anticipate the changes that we're going to undergo, and which could potentially derail us, could really kind of mess us up and send us in the wrong direction if we're not careful. And so I think about things like that, right? And it would be amazing if alongside myself, because I only have so much availability, based on hours in a day, um, to kind of be able to extend my expertise, right? To kind of say, well, listen, if I'm not available here, take a look at this application I've built, and basically ask it any questions related to people strategy or anything like that, and it will come back to you with some very, very useful suggestions, food for thought, ideas we need to explore, issues, concerns, or problems that we need to address quite quickly. It would be amazing to kind of be able to do something like that. So you're saying basically through the tool AppCraft, I can actually kind of explain that, hopefully in a much more concise and tidy way, to AppCraft, and AppCraft will go away and start to pull together all these notions. But it also potentially, I can train a tool or an application on my own data. So I've collected over the course of 20 years, God knows how much information, and experience, obviously anonymized. So I'm not using real company names or individuals' names, but I can basically train my application to do the things I want it to do. How does that work?
Yeah, like a lot of clients do that. Like what they are doing, they collect all the data, and it's possible to, when you start creating your own app on the AppCraft, to upload all the data. At the moment, it's possible to upload PDFs, Word documents, and also Google Sheets. So when you upload all the data there, like a system, you can write a prompt to the system what so system needs to do with the data. So when someone asks a question, system will answer them based on the data and the prompts that you share with them. Also, we have a lot of clients that use the data as example, as you said, like they are not available 24/7. So someone needs some answer or they have some question, they can use their app. They will go to the app, ask a question, and get answer immediately. If they need more information, they can later on ask you. But it's easier if some question is that the chatbot can answer. It's easier, like they can know that immediately. Later on, they can go deeper with you, and
Mm-hmm.
also you can see what they asked and what answer they get. So it's really easier nowadays with ChatGPT to train like ChatGPT on your data, so everyone can get answers. And also what they can do, also they can get a better answer because with ChatGPT you can say to ChatGPT, use your own data and my data, so answer can be a better quality someone
Mhm.
ask a question.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really important to kind of call out is look, these large language models are not perfect. They are actually not sentient experts in terms of their ability to kind of understand and read every situation perfectly and give you exactly the critical data. In other words, it's not going to replace me per se, which is fine, but it'll augment and support, sort of a continuous momentum and flow that I would have with a client. To your point, they can go online anytime. I often work in different time zones and so forth. So um, whereas I'm heading off to bed at 10, 11 o'clock at night, they might still be kind of working. It might be midday and they just want to have a go and a play with this because there's an issue niggling them. And they're sort of like, I really like to go deeper into this. Let me ask the tool a bunch of questions. And what it does is it creates, I guess, a bit of an inspiration, a bit of a, kind of a, a bit of information that basically says, have you considered this? Have you looked at this? And what I love about the use of these tools these days is their ability to kind of almost organize my thinking better than I've organized my thinking in terms of a response. I can ask it to present it, back in some kind of a bulleted format, or I can actually ask it to create a table with 5 columns and tell it what I want in each of the columns. I can do all sorts of things like that. And it's amazing to me what comes back and out of it. It's arguably better than I could have created, sat on my own, in a dark room and just kind of trying to plow through. And it kind of kicks off a bunch more thinking, and it kind of raises questions that we haven't necessarily gotten into. And what I like about that is that it does, again, create a bit of a flywheel of kind of information exchange and new information consideration so that the client and I can have a much more qualitative and much more targeted discussion about these specific things, having kind of seen what was generated out of it. And we can actually kind of move the whole program much more quickly down the path. Look, I mean, we're talking a lot about this stuff. Why don't we have a look at what you got in AppCraft and let's show people, how this works.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen so they
Okay.
can see how the software works. So when someone logins to the AppCraft, here's that main page where they can see all the tools that they created. As you can see, here are all tools that are already created. And here is the part where the creation process is, like what they have here as option. They can create a form tool. That's the tool with predefined user input fields, or chat tool. That's the same as ChatGPT. Someone asks a question, a tool will answer them. But the most interesting thing is this new feature that we implemented, that is AI Builder. So let me show you how AI Builder works. That is something interesting. Like you don't have, like maybe we had sometimes client, we have like client that they maybe don't have ideas, they don't have experience with the prompt writing. So here you can share your knowledge, what you are doing, like in the 2 or 1 sentence. So I will write now here, I am HR, create HR tools. So I'm HR expert, create HR tools. So now you just need to click here, generating.
Uh-huh.
And now you can see examples that AppCraft share with me. Like as example, what tools I can create it. As example, resume analyzer, interview feedback summarizer. So like we have candidate screening bot. Like it's really interesting. Like that's a chat tool designed to interact with potential candidates. Also
Okay.
HR policy. So job description generator, maybe we can create a couple tools. As example, maybe resume analyzer, maybe interview feedback summarizer, or this candidate screening bot. Like the next
Okay.
step that they need to do is to click here, create. And now tool is starting to create this apps.
So in the background, so I guess what you've just done here, right? Because what you typed in there was extraordinarily simple. I mean, you didn't even have to kind of put it in the typical format that you often do when you're kind of doing an inquiry or a prompt for large language models. You basically just said, look, I'm an HR expert, build me tools. It went back and said, well, here's a whole bunch of different types of tools for you potentially to build. And it seemed to me as if like you had better prompts built into, each one of those examples. So it's almost like you're kind of like helping me shape my own thinking, as I'm kind of going into this. And I look at something like a screening tool, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's exactly right. I could really use one of those. And then you basically can kind of build the app off the back of, yeah, this is so cool. Okay, go on then.
And what's the best thing like here? Like I shared only like one sentence. Like if you share more knowledge, like if you go deeper, you will get maybe more precise app that you are looking for.
Okay.
So now, like as we can see, here are these apps and create. They are now created. Like here is the performance review.
Yeah. Let's go play with a performance review generator. This is interesting.
So like when we click here, we can see how it's creating. Now I can show here. And now we will go like here's how that looks when you are using like manual building. Here you will need to write the name, tool description, and also here you will start with the prompting. Like here you can choose like what GPT model would you like to use? My recommendation is always 4 turbo because of the quality and speed. And here we can see what's the tool system that's like that's the prompting phase. Like we can see great performance reviews based on user inputs regarding employees performance. And here is option like here, generate a detailed performance review based on the metrics provided by the user. Focus on analyzing inputs such as work quality, functionality, teamwork, and overall performance. Here, if you want to add more information, like here are the inputs that we need to write, like you can do that. So
Okay.
let me share like how that app works. Like we'll go here on this option, access your app. So now it's redirecting me to my app. As you can see, here is my logo, some colors that I choose, but we're going down to find the app because I have a lot of apps that are already created.
Yep.
And when I click here, performance review generator. So I will not write John sales manager. Here we can choose like has met project deadlines, maybe yeah, demonstrated like leadership, and here we can write a comment like detailed comment on the employee performance. Uh, but I will do because of the demo, like some short sentence.
Mhm.
Please,
So
sales.
yeah, it's almost kind of like as you're typing, keep typing in the background. But I just in watching this again, you're almost like holding my hand, as you're kind of going down and getting more and more specific about what this app is actually meant to do, and also asking, me, would you like to upload anything in terms of, prior existing forms or key areas that you want to explore from a performance perspective or whatever it is, right, that I have. It allows me to kind of kick that back into the system. But you're obviously just kind of yeah, you're just kind of building this on the fly here. This is cool.
Yeah, and now like I clicked generate, so we're waiting now for result. It can take some time when it's a longer, when it's something longer form like this real performance. Like, but now here is the what we got here, and that is only based on this information that we shared. If you share more information, you can get a really good result. So here is everything there. Like what we can do, we can save the data or also copy, and also we have option here to tweak it. So we can write maybe something if we want to add it more about performance right here and click tweak, so it will create a new message.
Okay.
So that's the way how that looks on that side, on the user side. Also here what we have is analytics page, so we can see what's going on with the users, what tools they use, what's the number of words that they spend. So we have all information here, and here we can see what prompt I use here and what is the result. Here is the branding page. What is possible at the moment? At the moment, it's possible to put your own logo. We have option to create like a color palette, like at the moment only 3 colors, and also we have different app themes, so they can choose different. We have at the moment these 5. They can choose to change like if they want like a different colors.
Okay.
Here also what we have, the first step, what they will need to do, like when they start using AppCraft, they will need to connect their OpenAI API key. So they will need to go to, we can share it how that works. Like they will need to go to OpenAI API key. So they will need to visit this page, sign up here to the platform, and connect their own key.
Okay, it's just interesting.
Okay.
And the as you're working that through, as I have to do like a million times a day, it feels like, as you're working that through, this notion of an API key, which basically it's this notion of allowing applications basically permission, if you will, to actually go deeper into a particular application. That's I just want to be clear on this because a lot of HR folks obviously are very concerned, very nervous about playing around with kind of externally oriented large language models. If I upload data, God forbid, anything personal, and I don't have an API key, which basically kind of indicates me as the user, the kind of prescribed user who has access to the system, I risk losing that data and having that data basically pulled into the web, and disappearing and being available really arguably for anybody if they knew what they were looking for. So this API key basically is almost in a way kind of creating a bubble, right? A bubble of identification, and kind of, allows you to kind of like play with it in terms of the things inside the bubble. But it doesn't necessarily immediately kind of take your information and make it available to the web, because otherwise, you're in a tough spot. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and here like they will need to choose here API key, and also like here they can create, like when they register, they will create a new secret key. I will write here test to, like, click here create secret key, and now when your key is created, you just need to click here copy and paste here that key and save
Oh,
changes. Like also when they log into the AppCraft, when they start using, like at the beginning, like they will have access to our key, so they can try apps, and after they spend some amount of the words, then they will need to add their own key. So they will have opportunity to try app without connecting their own key immediately.
got it. Got it. Very interesting. Okay, so yeah, because that's that whole notion of tokens, right? So the sort of like fundamental building blocks, if you will, that determine how much work the AI app has to go do, and how many words and or information, how much information it needs to process. And at the end of the day, there's a cost associated with doing this, right? There are servers running very hot, and they're very, very busy. And so basically the cost is kind of determined through this whole token system. And so at some point, and it's relatively cheap, obviously, on a per token basis, but nonetheless, you've got to be able to kind of track expense, in terms of the development of these things. So okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what they can do, like what's the difference, like AppCraft and some other things that you have on OpenAI, you can connect your Stripe account. So we here have a full guide how to do that. You can connect your Stripe also as one of the main possibilities to correct your custom domain. So you will copy this on this page, your domain, click connect, then you will get instructions how to do that. If you need any help with Stripe or custom domain connection, there is someone always on support chat from our team that can answer you. so we can help you to do that. Also here, as one of the things that you can do is you can create your own packages. Here you can define what's the number of the free words, a first one that that person can use, or later on you can put number of the word that every person can use in the paid package, and you can choose here the pricing. So
Okay, cool. And you obviously have put some numbers in there, kind of predefined. I presume that's based on sort of averages and so forth that you've kind of figured out as being
yeah, that's
reasonable.
right. But also, like, our recommendation is always to check it out. What's the spending of their clients, so they can better know what is something that can be profitable for them.
Got it. Interesting. Okay, cool. So in
Also,
essence, in a way, what I can do is sort of as an HR consultant, I can say, look, I've got this application that will be super helpful to us, and basically go have a play with it, right? And kind of put whatever you want to put in there, and it won't cost you anything, initially, which is kind of cool in a way because then people can kind of get a flavor for, wow, this is really powerful, this is really interesting. Yeah, I think it's definitely something I want to kind of pay extra for. And then you can kind of set those parameters out. Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, one of the interesting things what they can do also is they do embed, and they can embed apps on their websites, so it's possible to be as a chat widget, or they can do like they can put on their web page like inline. So if they don't want like to have this process like that, someone needs to go to their app and
Hmm.
sign in and then start using. In that case, they can put direct on their website.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's
And so I mean, because that's interesting because I'm actually in the process actually of reinventing and recasting my own website to kind of really reflect a lot of this AI stuff. So in truth, what I could do, based on what you just told me, is I can actually take some of the widget elements and kind of bake it into different aspects, different pages on my website under different kind of topic headers or whatever the case, and people can actually see that link and click on it and be like, oh right, cool, I can go have a play with this. That would be a really interesting addition to what it is I'm doing. Very cool.
yeah, that's right. They can use for different pages.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, this is awesome. So, in the background, I kind of see what you're doing here, right? You start off with an extraordinarily generalized, kind of request, and then basically your AI tool comes back and says, "Here's a bunch of options. Choose the option that is closest to what it is you had in mind." Right? And then basically there are prompts, I presume, that you've kind of like pre-built that say if I click, for instance, on legal advisor, as I see there, and I click on the legal advisor, it's going to give me some further options to say, well, okay, legal is a big category. What specifically in the legal space are you looking to get some support or help or build a tool around? And then I click on one of those options, and then it further kind of like delineates and goes deeper into, okay, specifically, what do you want it to do? And that's basically how you build an app. This all seems just so easy. Is it really that easy, or what are the pitfalls? What are the problems that people would encounter with this process?
Yeah, I would say it's easy. Like if you use AI Builder, it's really easy. If you use Form tool or the chat tool as option, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's not like something like everyone can do that. Only they need to know like how to write what prompt they would like to write. So that is something. But if they don't want like to mess with that, or they're not ready yet, they just need to click here on AI Builder. So more system is building tools for them with predefined prompts already. All prompts are written, and later on they can improve that tools. So they can go to that tools. They can click here as example.
Yeah, good.
Here's
Show
the
us.
business coach. Here I can improve. Here I can write more knowledge base. Like here I can put I can upload a document like later on, and when I update that tool, just click here, and tool is now updated, and I can try it out now. It will maybe tool will give us better results, better answers than a tool that I created at the beginning.
Got it. So I can kind of edit it. That's the other thing that I was a bit panicked about. If I went and built something and wasted, a whole bunch of time creating something that ultimately was not my intentional creation, how do I kind of go back and kind of make it better? Possibly, reformat it or whatever the case. And it looks as if that process is super easy.
Yeah, that's right. They just need to click there and edit everything that maybe they see that can improve their tool.
Okay, very cool. Awesome. Okay, so Jovan, if I go on to this thing and I start to build some stuff, what is my obligation? What's it going to cost me if I wanted to create a couple of tools all by myself? How does that work?
Yeah, we have a flat monthly fee that's $99. That that's the pricing, and also you can cancel anytime. We don't have long-term obligation, and also you will need to pay like for the credit that you are spending, but for that credit that you are spending, that you're charging your own customers.
Mm-hmm.
So like you need to
Cost, yeah.
calculate that as your cost, but all and also we don't have limitation. You can create unlimited number of apps on the dashboard. So at the
Wow,
moment, like only we have that flat monthly pricing.
got it. Okay, so literally $99 US dollars a
That's
month.
right.
Wow.
That
Okay. Right. Gosh, it seems like you get quite a lot, frankly, for a very reasonable price. I found that to be really interesting with AI tools. I mean, I subscribe obviously to a couple of large language models because I kind of experiment, between them for different use cases. But I mean, like, ChatGPT, the OpenAI tool, I think that cost me like 19 pounds a month. And it's like just insane the amount of stuff you can build on. Uh, it's same with the Google Gemini tools and Anthropic's Claude 3 is a really interesting tool as well. What did you build AppCraft specifically on a particular model? And if so, how come you chose that model versus others?
yeah, at the moment we are focused on ChatGPT.
Okay.
Our plan for the future is to implement other models. So we're because of the all hype related to the AI, like on main focus was on ChatGPT. We were focused on ChatGPT, but our plan is how everything is progressing to add other models.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you have to kind of you have to kind of watch the market in a way, right? To kind of see who's innovating faster than others, and how is it they're innovating? What direction are they taking it? I think I was just blown away by the incredible iterative speed with which kind of the OpenAI folks were creating not just stronger models trained on billions and at some point trillions of bits of information, but also they were initially kind of like they were only kind of training, kind of their data up to a particular date, right? So initially, I don't know, it was like up to like 2022, and then suddenly it was like, no, we've actually brought that forward. Now it's 2023, and now it's like now it's much. They're working on a much more current model because of course that was always ever Google's kind of added benefit, which is it's connected to the internet, to their search engine capability and everything else, so they can look for stuff that is actually current. Having said that, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in terms of the tools that you'd want to build with a tool like OpenAI, it doesn't require having sort of a state of the art, minute by minute, real time, kind of view of the internet, because there is just so much information out there already on so many of these topics that arguably, this that would be essentially powerful. And I think what's cool about these things too is they get better every day, every minute of every day, right? Because everybody who does a search, everybody who writes a prompt, everybody who builds a tool, everybody who does something with this, the OpenAI, kind of servers learn, consistently about what are people doing with this information, how are they playing with it, what different variations are people using, what works better than other things, what's more popular than other things, and it's doing all of this kind of iterative learning. using their deep learning capabilities and their kind of cross-functional, kind of neural nets, if you will, that are kind of like a mimic, I guess, the human brain largely, but they're doing it at speeds that are arguably impossible, for the human brain to process. I think I would really be interested in kind of knowing from you, like, what part then does the human play in this that's actually magical? What advantage do I have in terms of bringing my brain to this challenge? And how do I kind of create the ultimate app, the cool thing here? How does that work from your perspective?
Yeah, like as we see, like AI, like is like only here to help us. I would say it's not possible to replace us.
Mhm.
So like the main thing like is we need to guide the tool. Like we need to guide all the system how they need how to create apps, how to improve apps. Also, that is something crucial. Only ChatGPT can help us like with their data, their knowledge, so when we share our ideas, we can get more and better answers. The good example for that is like what we started with this is like because of that needs for or agency, lead generation, and SDR, we needed like to create our need was like to create better messages, better. We are not native speakers, we are not English native speakers, so for us sometimes it can be harder to write messages. So we wanted to find a way that is cost effective to write really good messages with like our knowledge, what we learn, like what works, like in LinkedIn outreach and email outreach, and that's the way like our knowledge can help us like to uh, guide ChatGPT how to write, how to create, and at the end we can have really good results. That is not be it was like I would say like in the past we need to invest a lot like in learning, reading, thinking to create something like that. At the moment we can get that like in a minute.
Yeah, really is amazing, isn't it? Because I remember when ChatGPT first came out, right, which is like, I don't know what, November of 2022, I think. Um, if I have that right. Yeah, I think it was. And it kind of it was really clunky, right? Like the screen that popped up was asking you all sorts of weird questions around like the temperature of what it was you're creating on a scale of 0 to 1. Um, and that had to do with what level of creativity do you want the model to adopt in order to kind of come up with either really, really specific and kind of almost boring, kind of responses versus things that are just wildly creative. And there were all sorts of like kind of like knobs and dials and things of that nature. It felt like you had to do. And now, obviously, we're in a very different space where you just say, I am an HR expert, create HR applications. And it's like, I got this. Poof. Here's a whole bunch of stuff for you to think about. And I think you're right. I think it's this notion of, let's not confuse the often incredible and seemingly mind-blowing kind of outputs that these AI tools can generate with a level of what they keep calling sentience, which is almost like a human consciousness kind of conscious understanding of, I know I'm talking to Jovan and I know what he intends based on what he's writing. I can almost read his mind, and I'm actually going to take him on a journey and actually kind of accelerate his thinking and his understanding because I'm smarter than he is. And I've already kind of been down this route a bunch of times. Do you think so? That's not the way it works, right? We're basically, to your point, we're having to kind of give it explicit instruction. We're giving it structure. We're giving it framework. We're giving it, some kind of a superstructure within which to think. And what it brings to the table is it can examine trillions of different combinations of things. It can look at all the things that it's already created, and it can actually very quickly do some mathematical logic to say this versus this will actually be a better output, or it's typically been used more popularly, for instance, than this other option. and I'll just throw that out there. And sometimes, well, most times it seems to work beautifully. Sometimes it does some silly things. It kind of comes up with stuff that wasn't your intention at all, but it's very correctable. And that's what I'm loving about it now. As it gets smarter, as we play with it more, as tools basically can help shape the way that it operates and kind of puts information together, it actually starts to work through those early stage quirky, nutty, kind of combinations of things, and it feels that much more lucid. It feels very, very comfortable, and it feels like it's more in flow. But I think it's really important to caution people: always ever read the outputs, always ever double check it for honesty, for truth, for accuracy, to make sure that it's not inventing, kind of things that it sees as a gap and just tries to fill that gap randomly with an assumption, because it can do that still. So look, we covered off how it is you build this thing. So cool. We covered off security issues related to things like getting an API key and making sure that you kind of almost firewall it, in terms of access rights and things of that nature. We've also covered off, this notion of, look, it's not always ever perfect, and your ability, you need to kind of constantly double check and make sure that it's creating the thing that is honest, that is true, that is accurate, and in alignment, obviously, with what it is you want to build. Um, Talk to me about your customer, your client base. Um, who, how has this grown for you? How has this kind of like taken off in your experience?
Yeah, like we never, like when we started working with expected mostly like users like for that are in the sales marketing industry, but then we realized that it's a really big diversification. Like everyone who needs to create something, like we have a different users, some like in the medical industry, like some users created their own apps, like as a reason, like their main reason is like they are to teach someone like how to do something like in the area of medicine, so like they are using for educational purpose. Some of them they are using for, as example, we have some in the fence industry, like they're like users that they use only for marketing, like for the fence industry they are selling fences. So like this is a specific example. Also, we have different type of coaches, like sales coaches, and also personal like coaches. So they use different apps. And also what we have, like maybe some, like we never expected like someone like for the fashion industry, because what they use like to create different as examples, because we have option also to create images. That is
Oh,
also
do you?
possible. Yeah,
Cool.
that is also possible, and they used to create like they share like in like they write a description what they want to create, and then they can get output like some example of the clothing that can be really useful for them as example what they want to create later on. So we never expected, like we also have like marketing and sales, like they use as a top of the funnel mostly. So they create different tools on their websites. So we have different users like in different areas. Some of them they use tools at the top of the funnel. Some of them use for personal needs. Some of them use to sell to their existing clients.
Mhm.
So it's really, I would say, diversified, different like niches and
Right.
different industries.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be such a powerful capability in terms of, hopefully, again, accelerating all of us beyond the relatively mundane, kind of operational points and so forth, and is now kind of taken us way beyond kind of basic chatbot, informational and kind of solutions and things of that nature. And now it's basically helping with creation. Now it's helping us with, kind of very complex organizational activities. It's basically taking particular processes, procedures, and kind of human engagement activities to a whole new level. of kind of intellectual power, which is it's just so cool. I really love this, and I really appreciate your taking time today to kind of explain to us, how this works. So give us again a bit of a hit. Like where do people find the AppCraft website, and where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can find us like they can visit directly like AppCraft.ai website, so they can read more about and learn more about the tool. Also, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn or my colleague Nicholas, so we can help them. Like also they can what we have as an option, like they can organize a demo call with us, so we can show them like one on one, like uh, how to use AppCraft, what they can create with AppCraft, and also maybe we can share some also strategies and ideas how to monetize their apps.
Nice. Good. Yeah, because that's an amazing, kind of avenue for passive revenue generation that also kind of feels like a real value add, to your customers and clients as well. So that's awesome. Jovan, that's been a lot of fun. Folks, thank you for joining us today. Again, as ever, I am here to kind of answer questions, inquiries. I will be actually borrowing a number of AppCraft, kind of embedded widgets and baking those into my website for sure. And so thank you very much, Jovan, for that. If anybody wants to reach out to me and connect with me, just simply type JEFF, Jeff at bigbearpartners.com. And otherwise, I wish you all an amazing day, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.